So it's finally the new year, it's 2021, and there's a lot of hope and excitement in the air. 2020 was a heck of a year all around the world, and especially for real estate around the greater Boston area. We saw new trends coming up that a lot of people probably didn't expect. We saw the suburbs being heated up, we saw the city slow down, we saw the rental markets take a big hit. Interest rates were like historically low. There was just a lot of things going on in 2020 that really changed the curve for real estate around the Boston area. So with the new year now, I thought I would make this video to give you guys my predictions on what I think is going to be happening in 2021, to tell you if these trends are going to continue and where potentially the opportunity is if you're thinking about potentially buying or selling around the Boston area. So with that, let's get at it. What's going on, guys? My name's Lior and I'm a realtor with Compass out of Boston. And in this video, as I said, I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions on what I think is going to happen with real estate around the greater Boston area in 2021. Now, before we get into it, two quick things. Number one, if this is your first time on my channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button. It helps me out a ton, guys. It helps me put out more content, and that way more people can learn about real estate around the area. And number two, if you guys are thinking about doing anything with real estate around the Boston area, whether it's buying, selling, investing, whatever it is, I get so many calls from you guys watching my videos, and I absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about doing anything, just call, text, email, whatever it is, and I will help you out. So with that, let's jump right into this content. And I think the best way to do this is first give you guys my overview of the 4 big trends that define 2020. And then I'll tell you exactly how I think those are gonna play out in 2021. So in terms of the big trends, I think number one trend that defined 2020 real estate in Boston was definitely the historically low interest rates, right? And that's obviously not just Boston, it's across the US. I mean, the interest rates were just so stupid low, right? I mean, I had buyers getting rates as low as 2.37. I personally bought a home and I got a rate of 2.6%. I had FHA buyers get loans at around 2.9%. I mean, just incredibly low rates that we've really just not seen in an insanely long time. Number 2 trend that really played out in Boston was the suburbs were heating up, right? So if you saw the trend of a lot of people during coronavirus were moving away from the city into the suburbs, right? Because they probably wanted more square footage, they wanted more yard space, they didn't want to be crammed up in the city during a pandemic where everything's locked down. So we saw a ton of people pack their bags from the city and move into the suburbs. And with that, the suburbs became insanely competitive. I mean, there were homes that were literally getting over 30 offers on single families. I mean, it was just bonkers. I had buyers coming in cash way over asking and just getting blown out the water. So the suburb single family market was definitely a defining feature of 2020. It was just incredibly competitive. Number 3 feature that happened was the city condo market slowed down quite a bit. So downtown Boston, all the neighborhoods around there, places like Brookline, Somerville, Cambridge, and all of these surrounding, really prime time areas, a lot of these markets really slowed down in 2020. Condos that maybe a year or two ago would have flown off the table with multiple offers we're now sitting for 30 to 60 plus days. You can now come in without too much competition, get a condo at asking or even a couple of percentage points below asking price. I mean, that just has not been seen in Boston for probably at least 7-8 years. And finally, defining feature number 4 that happened was the rental market took a really big hit, especially in prime time areas that we talked about, like downtown, Brookline, Somerville, Cambridge, Brighton, Alston. With coronavirus, a lot of schools obviously shut down, so a lot of students did not come back to Boston. There was a big flux of young professionals out as well, and that left a lot of apartments vacant for the first time in what seems like forever. So a lot of landlords were experiencing much more higher vacancy. Apartments that would typically fill out in a week or two are sitting on the market for 3-4 months. You'd have to offer concessions like 3 months of rent or something like that. So rental market really took a hit all over Boston. So in terms of 2021, I do think a lot of these trends are going to continue to play out, but I think we're going to see a little bit of switch up towards the end. And the reason for that is, as probably most of you guys know by now, the coronavirus vaccines have started to roll out. Hospitals are, hospital workers are the first people to get them. Hopefully they make their way through the population over the next 3 to 6 months. So I do think that's gonna have some sort of impact on the real estate market. And what I do see happening in 2021, I think interest rates will continue to remain incredibly low. So if you're a buyer or if you're an owner looking to refinance, now is the time to lock in just stupidly low interest rates on properties. We're probably, it really is just incredible how low it is. In terms of the suburbs and this versus the city, I think the suburbs are definitely going to remain hot. If you're going to be looking for a single family, it's definitely going to be still very competitive out there. But I do think towards the end of the year, right, as we start hitting the end of summer, fall, assuming everything continues to go out with the vaccine okay and it's going to show some effectiveness, and things start opening up, I do eventually see, some people kind of reconsidering and moving from the suburbs back into the city. And I've said this in other videos, the reason I think that is because there's a reason the city's the city, right? There's a reason Boston has attracted so many people, has so many bars, restaurants, things to do. I think once the vaccine really hits the rollout and people are vaccinated, they're going to realize, well, why am I living in the suburbs? I want to go back into the city where all the action is. And I do think we're going to kind of see a lot of people flux right back in towards the end of the year. So I think in terms of condos, city condos, I think towards the end of the year, they might start to get competitive again as people are kind of craving back for all the action in the city. Same thing with the rentals too. I do think once, it'll be interesting to see the summer and how a lot of universities respond to the vaccine. But if universities really open their doors back up in fall of 2021, you're going to see the students flood the rental market right back in. You're going to see vacancy decrease right back down. Assuming this vaccine rollout kind of progresses the way a lot of people think it's going to progress, I do think the tail end of the year, we're going to see a lot more action in the city as people climb right back in, expecting that city life that they've that they've experienced all along before coronavirus. So those are just some of my predictions. Like I said, obviously if I had a crystal ball, I'd probably be a trillionaire by now. But I do think, again, a lot of this obviously hinges on exactly how it plays out with the vaccine. But I think regardless, 1 to 2 years at most, I do see the city coming back strong as people realize what they're missing out by living in the suburbs. So definitely keep your eye out on that trend. So hopefully this is helpful, guys. If you guys have any questions, any thoughts, just shoot them below.